This programme is brought to you by UCKG.
Hello and welcome to another fabulous episode of A Different Kind of Woman. We are different kind of women because we are ready to face our fears. And on today's show, Faith in the Family, we are discussing what family values are and asking how important are they today. Let's take a look at what's coming up on the show. Next, we're going to play our favourite red and green card game. At 4:15, find out what people on the streets of London think with Jennifer Lon. At 4:25, see our Kim and her family bonding at Clue Quest. And later, we'll be welcoming singer Lucy Monet to our studio. So joining me today is the salubrious Samantha.
Oh, excuse me. I'm quite liking that.
Sorry, I love that reaction, Sam. I have the genteel Gemma.
Hi.
I'm not quite sure
Do you know what? I was looking at Maria there. I was thinking, oh, genteel me. Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't know.
I'll take it.
Well, yeah. It goes with G.
Yeah, it rhymes.
And the memorable Maria.
I'd like to know how.
What, memorable?
You're very memorable.
Yes.
Trust me.
You're not easily forgotten,
Exactly.
Maria.
Once encountered, never forgotten.
Okay.
How wonderful.
Just, a small question and to throw it all off with. What do you think, how would you define family values then, ladies? Maria, the memorable Maria?
The memorable Maria. Well, I've got to live up to my name now. Well, family values, on a serious note, for me, it's very important. It's what really keeps a family together for me, and if you don't have that, I believe I think that's how family actually gets divided, separated. There's this division between the family. But I think if families hold on to their values, whatever it is, it could be, it could be their faith, it could be whatever it is. I think it's very important for family to have that. I love to have family values. I love to know that, there is something in my family that we hold on to, we really value. It's something that for me, it's extremely important.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I think family values are standards that are implemented, sometimes can pass through generations. And I think the values of a family is something that is put in place that helps the family to function well or better, and they're different for different people. Sometimes they're changed, they can evolve, but sometimes the very foundation of why they were created can remain. And I think that's quite important. Like, for example, within my family, we are very, very united, but that's to say that not because we didn't fight for that. My mum had to fight really hard because as we were growing up through our teen years, we didn't value things like sitting around the table. And, I just thought, oh, that's boring. I want to be out with my friends. And my mum was like, no, you're not. You're going to sit around the table and we're going to eat dinner together. So she instilled that in us. And now that I am older, I appreciate that so, so much. And I'm glad that she fought for it, because sometimes family values, because there are so many different people in a family, it's very difficult to keep those. And if you're all not on the same page, sometimes it takes one or two strong people to say, no, we are going to do that. Let's keep fighting for this, so that everyone can see the true benefit of it at one point or another, which is,
I like that. I know your family very well, Gemma. And I actually respect the fact how your family values is, and I've actually learnt a lot from your family values.
me too.
With myself, I've always grown up with having family values because my parents were the type of parents that always wanted us to sit around the table, have our meals. They would like to discuss things, speak about what they thought was best for us and things like that. So we grew up that, but I found that growing up going into your own ways, you like what Gemma says, there's different stages. And I found that family values can be weakened if you don't work at it.
Oh, for sure.
And I found that with my own personal life, I can see areas in my life where family values, not with my own immediate family, which I've tried to keep the values there with my own children, my husband. You know, I try to, you know, do things that we can do as a family, go out together as a family and try to keep that network. But with what I noticed that when my both parents have died now, and where, for example, growing up, all this my siblings and families, we would be a lot closer, do a lot more things together, and really have that sense of respect and love for each other, you know, share each other, help each other, things like that. I found that when our parents died, it weakened.
Wow.
It really weakened, and the family values was not the same with the rest of the family. Like, this side of family was doing their stuff and this side was doing theirs, and I'm there with my little family doing us, and it wasn't that full-on unity, which I see with your family, Jo. Although you're all married, I love that. I really do. I've noticed that, you know, all the children are now married, but yet they make the mother.
Yeah.
V's on the programme. She's one of our presenters, and she's a very good friend of mine. But she's very, very strong in keeping that network. You know, making sure she's getting all the kids together, regardless of whether they're married or not. You know, keeping the grandchildren close and keeping that family value. And I love that. And I think that it really needs to be exercised. It's something that can be weakened if you don't work at it.
Okay, thank you very much for that, ladies. So we haven't got a lot of time left, but we're going to try and play our red and green card game, which has been absent for a little while. So get your cards ready, ladies. Oops, I forget that. Here we go. So obviously, if you agree, it is green. If you disagree, it is red. Okay? So, no on the fence, like halfway nonsense. Okay? So, do you have a healthy work-life balance?
Did you say
Come on. Red is no, you don't have a healthy work-life balance.
And green if you do.
Green if you do. No? Come on, Maria. Come on. Come on. Give me. Come on.
Okay.
Come on.
When you sit on the fence, I just knew it was going to be
Remember,
you.
I said we haven't got a lot of time. Come on. Okay. Gemma, no, you don't.
No, I don't, because I'm always striving for more time with my family and friends, and I don't know if I'll ever be completely content, but I always feel that that's something that I want more of, so I'd say no.
Okay.
Well, I would say definitely in the last couple of years, I've really got it spot on.
Lovely. Okay. So, send me down. Next question.
I love that.
Are family values the same in all families?
No.
So why are you showing green?
There you go.
Maria, quickly, why do you say that they're not the same?
I don't think it's the same. I don't think so, because like you said, Sam, both your parents passed away, and I think unless you have someone really strong in the family to hold on to that, it can be lost along the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next.
And what's the value for one is not value for others.
Absolutely.
This is it.
Yeah.
We have different, percentage.
Yeah.
Okay. Are your family the most important people in your life?
Definitely.
Gemma?
Without a doubt. I think my actual sisters are my best friends. So, and my mum raised us all like that. And now that we have a new generation that has come up, because my sisters just had a baby and my brothers has 2 babies, we're trying to raise them as cousins to be as close as we are.
Love it.
And that's just how we are. Like, you know, my husband has become my mum's son, and I wouldn't. My family's so important to me that I would have married somebody that didn't get along with my family.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Last one. Are your beliefs the same as your parents?
I'm going to say no to be controversial.
Yeah.
A lot of the time they are, but I'll say no.
Maria, I haven't got time. Come on.
I'm kind of on the fence.
No,
on this
I
one.
don't know.
Are your beliefs?
Okay.
I'll say yes, actually.
Yeah, me
Really
too.
quickly,
Me
Maria,
too.
why are they the same?
I mean, I believe so, because my mum as well, she's very good at keeping family together. She wouldn't have it no other way. I mean, it doesn't matter. She could have everyone around on the same day, as long as she's there under the same roof as her.
Love it. Thank you, ladies. So we are going to go to a short break, but before we do, let's hear from Jennifer Lon and see what she found out from the people of the streets of London.
How important are your family to you?
100% important. Well, I love them like my sister is like my best friend.
They influence it very much in what I am now.
Very important. Yeah, I've got 4 brothers, so we all get on perfectly.
Extremely important. My family is my support system, and they live far away. They live in Singapore, but they've allowed me to do what I do here in London. I work in theatre, and I have their full support.
They're so important to me because I feel homesick always, like a week after I come back from my country, I feel homesick already.
They're the most important thing.
Yeah, throughout my life, they've always been there. They're the people that I go to.
Yeah, very important. I think family is important to everyone.
What are family values?
Family values depend like reliance, just like friendship as well, support.
I think that talking and communicating is the key to a good relationship, even though it's family or friends, to anyone. So I think the most important part is to keep in touch with everyone at all times and be honest.
Basically what you do for each other, even when it tests you, like what you're willing to sacrifice for each other.
Sticking together, just doing things for each other.
And it's really important to respect every opinion. So yeah, he's totally respectful.
Integrity, honesty, friendship, trust.
I think your family values are the things that you strongly believe in as a group and the way that you live your life to get there.
Love and honesty and being friends. But of course you can't make those things up. You can't manufacture those things. Some families are very close and some are not. And if you have a close family, you're very lucky.
This programme is brought to you by UCKG.
People normally think that there's no greater influence as powerful as Hollywood, but I beg to differ because Godlywood is really making its mark in the world. Now, for those of you that don't know, Godlywood is an initiative aiming to lead women of all ages to become exemplary women of God. We teach women how to make a positive impact in their own lives and their families through monthly tasks and meetings. And one of the great things about Godlywood as well is that we also learn to be giving, so we go out and help our communities. And one of the ways we do that in the UK through regular visits to elderly homes to pamper them and to keep them company. We also have regular events to help abused women, and we have many more plans to help our community. I ended up overcoming lots of insecurities and bad habits, and I've grown so much, and one of the things that I finally beat was the shyness that I had, and I'm doing things that I never ever imagined that I would be doing. And we have many more plans to help our community. So to summarise everything, Godlywood really changes lives, and I'm so privileged to be a part of it.
This programme is brought to you by UCKG.
So welcome back, and today's topic is faith in the family. And before the break, we were discussing family values. But ladies, how much do you think your family life affects your future?
For me, it's a massive percentage, just because my family is part of absolutely everything that I do. And when I think about my immediate family, which is my husband and I know that if I wasn't okay with my husband or having problems, I wouldn't even be able to, this is how powerful I hold my relationships, I wouldn't even be able to do well at work. Because, you know, like, even if I have a disagreement with my husband, I have to sort it out, or nothing else can go really well for me. Like, my entire day could just be like really down if we haven't sorted that out. And that's just how dear my relationships are. Again, if with my sisters or anything, like, you know, recently one of my sisters did something that annoyed me. She didn't know. And I remember I was walking to work and I thought, oh, let me tell her. And I sent a WhatsApp, a voice note, and I was like, oh, this really annoyed. And she was, oh my gosh, I didn't even realise. And it was so funny. And I was telling my mum, and she said, I'm really proud of the way that you guys solve things now. Because when you're younger, it'll be like, no, I don't want to talk to you anymore. And then we were like, yeah, because we're grown up now. But we were able to squash it immediately before something had started. And that's just how we are. Because we hold it so dear, everything else in our lives can be affected if those relationships are not tight.
I mean, speaking from personal experience, I know that when I was going through my own marriage problems, it does affect everything that you do, because you can't think about things properly, because all you think, because going home, for example, is supposed to be your refuge at the end of the day, isn't it? But if you know that going there is like still walking into a war, there can't be any peace.
There isn't. And again, if you don't have support, because, for example, if you're trying to go for something in life, you know, like we had a show where we were talking about women and how difficult it can be for women out there. If you've got your own battles within your household, no matter where you are in your life, if it's, say, your parents, they're not supporting you while you're trying to fulfill your dreams, that can be really difficult as well. It's really hard.
You know. Well, I mean, I remember a time when my brother and I, we were very small, and my goodness, he used to pick on me so much. You know, we used to fight really bad. And the thing is, as the day we came over here was the day at the as we were walking to the plane, was actually the day that was it. He put his arm around me, and that was the last fight we ever had. And when I look back now, to be like that again, I don't think I can cope with it. For me, I think I'm not an argumentative person. I'm not, and I prefer to keep the peace. And sometimes I think my mistake has been sometimes is that in the past, when I was younger, is, you know, I couldn't control myself sometimes. But I'm so happy now that I grew out of it. As I got older, I grew out of it. And especially with my family, we're very close. We don't argue. I mean, there's 6 of us, 3 girls and 3 boys. And I can actually say, you know, none of us, we never, ever argue with each other. And I really thank God for that, because for me, it's very important. I don't think I can look at my sister or look at my brother and think, you know, I've said something really to hurt them. And for me, I mean, if something is wrong, I'm not going to say, well, no, it's best for me not to say, you know, but you can't do that. We have to be honest and then clear the air, but not allow it to go on and on where it becomes such a feud, it becomes something that you cannot, you know, it cannot be solved. So for me, it's very important for me and my brothers, all of us, family, to get on. It's very important.
And I like what Maria said, because we're very much like that. I mean, it's one of those things I've had with my own children and my own family network. I've had periods of ups and downs where there's been times when I've felt so grieved with my children, you know, the disobedient side of things, and things when they're not doing things how you expect them to do things, and times when they've hurt you in the pain. But what I've learned is the secret is never to be unforgiving. And I found that because I've kept that, and I've taught my children that from a young age, that even if they're hurt by maybe something that they feel us as parents have done against them, or vice versa, what I think they've done against them, we don't keep that unforgiveness running. because that's what causes the division. That's what causes the bad feelings, the hurt, the pain. So I've always tried to, you know, forgive quickly, try to move on. There has been times when I've shed many tears, you know, when I felt hurt, pain, but always try to bring back the positive side to, in everything. And I think that in itself is family values, because sometimes, even with family values, if you don't keep your family values, you will maintain those grudges, those bad feelings. You will keep not speaking. You hear about families not speaking to each other for years. And it's just so awful. It's just so bizarre to know that, you know, something can be so bad that you're not going to communicate with it. You're going to feel that bad
Do you know
feeling.
what that also does? Because again, from personal experience and witnessing that, where one person didn't speak to somebody else in the family, and then when you're around, and it could be that, say you didn't speak to Maria, you could speak to everybody here, sit even next to Maria and not even look. But what that does teach you, I remember you said in the first part about family values evolving, it teaches the next generation, actually, that's not how to do things.
That's
And you can learn from those mistakes if you...
Exactly.
And the thing is, because there have been times, even in my family, I remember, like, if I look back over the years, there have been times when I've made a decision in myself and I could never keep it. Do you know what? I'm never going to talk to her again. Actually, you'll never treat me like that again. I'll never allow it. I'm going to block her off, and I've always had those conversations with myself. And then it's like the personal conversation. I'm like, okay, all right, let's move on.
Love them.
Yeah, but I can see the problem is within families is that blood, as they say, is thicker than water. And what somebody does in your family to hurt you is completely different, usually, to what a friend can do, or a co-worker or a stranger, because it is so close. They are your blood. So if they say something, it's like how many people have grown up with something that their parents have said. When we're talking about the future now, people carry things that their parents have said for years. It changes you. My mother, I've realised that my mum's opinion is probably more important to me than probably anybody else's opinion. So many people can say, like I've had that, when I used to do a lot of presenting and stuff, people are like, wow, you did a really good show. And then mum would be like, well, you could change that, couldn't you?
I think Lisa, it's all about having the power of forgiveness, isn't it?
Exactly.
And also, so because you brought up parents, you know, obviously a typical family is supposed to be, you know, parents happily married, you know, and
which
things
is not
like
always
that.
the case.
Yeah, as I was coming. Hold on.
Perfect word.
So when parents separate, obviously that can be one of the most devastating things to a family and can help change the family as a whole, the direction how people are, just based on how the parents deal with it. I mean, what do you think should be the best way that parents who separate deal with their children? Because obviously, as I said, they are setting that tone for the family. I mean, are your parents married? I mean, I know you said your parents passed away, but were they married before?
Yeah, I mean, I was very blessed like that, because my parents, you know, we grew up with my married parents. They never ever separated, and they were always there for us. But with my own scenario, with my relationships, I've had broken relationships, and the kids have been there where they felt the crunch and the pain from those broken relationships, especially when there's things like abuse involved, which can have a really negative impact on the children, because how are you going to help that child to see that person with good eyes, because that child may have witnessed that the partner abusing the mother, which was in my case at the time. And you know, it's helping, you know, like I was speaking about unforgiveness. I really am big about this. And with myself, I had to teach the kids that, you know what, if you keep that unforgiveness inside, you're the one who's going to feel the pain. You're the one who's going to become the bitter person, not the other person. And that's what I've tried to teach them. So traumas, families can go through these traumas.
Yeah, because I'm going by what you're saying. I mean, obviously your situation, my situation, completely different. I mean, my mum and dad, they separated from a very, very early age. And for me, I remember one time, you know, seeing them arguing and everything. But when I think about my mother now, I mean, she is I have to say, an amazing, amazing woman, believe me. And the way she brought us up is like this. What happened between myself and your dad is between us. Mm-hmm. So never, ever say anything bad about my dad. Never, ever have any grudges or any bad feelings towards. And that's how I grew up.
That's lovely.
Okay,
that's how I grew
really
up.
Mature. And that's two very different situations and two really good perspectives. Thank you, ladies. We are going to have to take another short break. But before we go, we're going to see our fellow DKW Kim and her family as they went to Clue Quest to work on their problem-solving skills. That's a twister in itself. As a team, how did they get on? Take a look.
Has anyone done anything like this before?
I haven't.
And you know generally what we do here, right?
Yes, it's like a team building thing. We have to try and get out of a room.
That's exactly what we do here, actually. So with that in mind, welcome to Clue Quest. My name is Richard. I'll be helping your team escape today.
Concept was very popular in Hungary, live escape games, and my brother heard about this from our nephew, who actually took his girlfriend to a date to a live escape game, and we as a family went to try us out as well, and we had a little friendly family race, boys against girls, boys win. And then we kind of decided to start an adventure here in London ourselves. We all four of us have entrepreneur backgrounds, and basically this is how Clue Quest was born 2.5 years ago.
There we go. Welcome back, guys.
I know I enjoyed myself. Crystal, what was it like?
It was very hard to get out of it, but I really enjoyed how they were helping us with the clues.
Agents, this is Mission Control. Do you copy? Do you copy? I have a special piece of information for Agent Kim.
I really liked how we all got to work together.
Like the fact how the codes were presented in a way for us to find it, and like the way we had to put it into the padlocks.
We all stay strong, you know. It was a bit hard at times, but you know, as when we worked together, it made it really fun and exciting.
So, Zolly, tell me, what makes this so popular?
I think immersion in first place, because if you look around, people are more about active fun lately. It's not about sitting in front of the telly. Obviously that's still happening, but it's more about going out, actually experiencing things and not being entertained by a screen.
I can't give away too much clues, but I can say it is an amazing experience.
This programme is brought to you by UCKG.
People normally think that there's no greater influence as powerful as Hollywood, but I beg to differ because Godlywood is really making its mark in the world. Now, for those of you that don't know, Godlywood is an initiative aiming to lead women of all ages to become exemplary women of God. We teach women how to make a positive impact in their own lives and their families through monthly tasks and meetings. And one of the great things about Godlywood as well is that we also learn to be giving, so we go out and help our communities. And one of the ways we do that in the UK through regular visits to elderly homes to pamper them and to keep them company. We also have regular events to help abused women, and we have many more plans to help our community. I ended up overcoming lots of insecurities and bad habits, and I've grown so much. And one of the things that I finally beat was the shyness that I had, and I'm doing things that I never ever imagined that I would be doing. And we have many more plans to help our community. So to summarize everything, Godlywood really changes lives, and I'm so privileged to be a part of it.
This program is brought to you by UCKG.
So welcome back to DKW, and on today's show, Faith in the Family, we've been discussing family values. Now joining us in the studio today is singer Lucianne, better known by her stage name, Lucy Monet. Welcome.
Thank you.
So you were born in East London to Nigerian parents, right? Yeah. Now, how would you say that those family values that you grew up with had an impact on you growing up?
It had a very huge impact. Both my parents were born in Nigeria and came over to London quite late in their life. So they very much had the African culture in the traditional ways. Yeah. So growing up, things like food was very much from back home, the typical traditional food, eating with your hands and cooking the food, the traditional ways, and the clothing as well. We wear a lot of prints traditionally in our clothes. So growing up with that and also inputting that into my style this day and age, and I've actually found that other people, you can walk into Topshop and they'll have like African print. So it's really affected my culture growing up. Things like music as well. I'm a huge fan of the talking drum. Don't know if you guys are aware of the talking drum.
Wow.
It's an amazing instrument back home, and when you go to African parties, especially Nigerian parties, when you hear the talking drum, you know what time it is.
That's unbelievable. You grew up actually singing gospel music, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
And now you've changed into more the commercial type of songs. Yeah. What made you change?
Do you know what it is? My relationship with God is very different in a way where the Bible says go into the world and be the salt of the world. When I was doing gospel music, I was performing and ministering in a lot of churches, and I found that a lot of people that don't know God are not going to go to a church or going to buy a gospel album. Right. They're more likely to buy an R&B album or a pop album. Then they'll follow the artist on their Twitter page, and then they'll buy into the artist's lifestyle. So I thought, instead of I actually want to reach people that may not know God or may not have the opportunity to be preached to about God. So just through my music being something everyone can relate to, they can then look at my lifestyle and think, who is this God she's serving? And then...
and is that working?
Is it working? Yeah, definitely.
Wow. And how has your family supported you in this?
They're very supportive. Initially, it was a bit, being from an African background, they're very much like...
You need to be a doctor. Doctor, lawyer, surgeon, musician.
Exactly. It's like, what are you talking about? So initially, they were very much like, no, come on, you have to get your education done and everything, and which I have done. But as they've seen my belief in myself and they've seen the fruits of my music and what's going on, you kind of have to start supporting just by default from what they're seeing come to fruition.
Yeah. Lucy, I want to ask you, you seem to talk very candidly about your dream and about your faith. You seem very confident within yourself. Does that come from values that your parents have, you know, coming back from back home? Is that something that you always grew up with, that sort of belief and faith in God?
Yeah, I did. I was born in a Christian, like brought up in a Christian home. But I think, like, my mum goes to a Catholic church, and I grew up in a Catholic church. And then I kind of found God in my own way, if that makes sense. So then I kind of started searching for him by myself. I remember I took some time away from church just to kind of search for him and find out, just hear him for myself, reading the word. So yeah,
to get that foundation.
I really like what you said just now, because it relates to what I went through.
Okay.
Yes, it really does. But I have a question. What advice would you actually give to other performers taking rejection?
I would say let that motivate you. I've had a lot of rejections. And if I flinched at any of them, I literally wouldn't even be here
because you were rejected from the X Factor,
From the X
weren't
Factor,
you?
yeah, I was. And it is difficult at first, but with me, for example, I contacted a producer a couple of months, last year, and he didn't get back to me. A month ago, I contacted him again, and now we're going to be working together. Right. So I use that as a thing. When I do get rejected, I'm like, don't worry, one day. And I use that to motivate myself. So I would say to people, let rejection be your fuel. Let that really make you feel like, you know what, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go
and I
for
believe it's your faith that keeps you going, that kept you keep going, never give up.
Exactly.
Do you have children?
I don't have children yet.
Okay, but you have brothers and sisters and things like that. What kind of relationship have you had with them? Because obviously they would have grown up in that family network, and have you found that there is a difference between you and them in terms of how they've embraced the values of your parents?
Slightly. Well, me and my sister is exactly the same. Maybe because we're females, so we've taken it the same way. My brother took it a different way. I think because he's a guy like out with his friend from a young age, and in an African home, the females, you're taught to be a lady type of thing. So I think with me and my sister, we grew up with that, and to uphold yourself in a respected way, you know, representing your faith and where you're from type of thing.
You can relate to that.
I want to ask you a question, because you're in an industry where women don't really uphold themselves as ladies in a respectable manner. And a lot of the things that you do see on TV, on your screens, are very conflicting with moral family values, etc. How do you balance that? Because you're trying to break into an industry where that is prevalent, and those who are successful are half naked and they're not very ladylike, unfortunately. That's just my opinion. But, you know, how do you balance what you know are your family values, what you've grown up with, your foundation, with your dream?
Well, I'm quite fortunate because the favour of God is heavily on my life. So I've been in situations and I've been able to handle it in a way that hasn't compromised my faith. And I literally think it's the favour of God that's just touched the heart of whoever's taken the photo and said, actually, no, let's not do it that way. But I'm the type of person where if I am doing a photo shoot and you want me to wear something, I'll just say no. I don't feel comfortable wearing that. And it's my voice, like my God-given talent that will, as the Bible says, take me before kings and queens. It's not what I wear. And I stand firm to that. And I just feel like if you stick to your beliefs, other people will also fall in line with that by the grace of God. And I just stick to it. I don't compromise at all.
Do you think that it's easier for you to do that with the values that you grew up with in the family?
I do think so, because I'm not trying. It'll be difficult if I'm trying to be different or trying to be like covered up or stuff like that. I genuinely like that. Like, I don't like wearing tight clothes or shorts. It's not my taste. So it's not like, oh, it's difficult for me to not fit in, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like being covered up, and I like being, you know, ladylike. I like that.
So you're being you.
I'm being me.
You're being you, and not wanting anyone to go and change you. Because that is great. That is so great.
So how, I mean, what kind of advice, I should say, would you give to others who may be in a similar position to you, maybe holding their own similar values and faith, but it's not necessarily been something that's been instilled in them from their family, but now that they're of age and they're starting to think in this way, what advice would you give them in holding firm to that belief, especially if going into an industry such as you are?
First of all, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. That's the first thing. When you're going into an industry, know who you are before going in. If you don't know who you are, people tell you who you are and you'll act like someone else. So know who you are. Really take time, spend time with yourself. Even at this moment now, I'm going through a phase where I'm getting to know me more and more and spending more quality time just me. And that's helping me. So when I go out into the world, I know who I am. If I'm confronted with anything, I know what I stand for. So to anyone that's going through the same thing, just really know who you are. Take time out. Go to the theatre by yourself and just enjoy yourself, and you'll find a different kind of empowerment within you. So when you're faced with things, it doesn't faze you.
I really like that. I really like listening to you, because you are a young person, but yet you have such a strong value of yourself, who you are first. I really like that about you. I can go on listening to you.
Thank you so much, Lucy. That was absolutely fantastic and some great advice there. So we're going to take a short break, but stay tuned because there'll be more discussion on faith in the family after the break.
This programme is brought to you by UCKG.
People normally think that there's no greater influence as powerful as Hollywood, but I beg to differ because Godlywood is really making its mark in the world. Now, for those of you that don't know, Godlywood is an initiative aiming to lead women of all ages to become exemplary women of God. We teach women how to make a positive impact in their own lives and their families through monthly tasks and meetings. And one of the great things about Godlywood as well is that we also learn to be giving, so we go out and help our communities. And one of the ways we do that in the UK through regular visits to elderly homes to pamper them and to keep them company. We also have regular events to help abused women, and we have many more plans to help our community. I ended up overcoming lots of insecurities and bad habits, and I've grown so much, and one of the things that I finally beat was the shyness that I had, and I'm doing things that I never ever imagined that I would be doing. And we have many more plans to help our community. So to summarise everything, Godlywood really changes lives, and I'm so privileged to be a part of it.
This programme is brought to you by UCKG.
Welcome back to DKW, and we've been discussing faith in the family. Now, ladies, do you think there is a way to tell if your family is functioning normally?
Well, normal's different for normal is different for anyone, but I think, 9 times out of 10 we kind of understand what's normal. And we can tell what's weird.
I'm going to say something, we don't know, because but what I mean is I think everyone's got their own version of normal, because I think if you've got people around the table sometimes and they could be like shouting with and to them that's normal. To everyone else you could be like,
and it's funny because when you then start either getting married or bringing a friend over or something like that, and someone else enters into your family environment, around the table or whatever, and they're kind of like, oh wow, and you're like, this is normal.
Especially if you are, they are a only child or come from a quiet family into a bigger family. Because even when people come to mind, my family's ridiculously huge. I keep saying it because I've got step family involved and all the rest of it. So it's huge.
Exactly.
So for us, a normal, sit down with a few family members, to someone else would be like, oh my gosh, there's loads of people.
Exactly. People think some people are overwhelmed, by your version of normal. But I think going back to the question, I would say in terms of normal, in terms of if my family is normal or not, we know that if there's something wrong, if there's hard feelings, then that is not normal, and that is not okay. And that's why we've got a way that we deal with conflict. Like in my family, again, this might not be normal for others because I haven't heard it in many families. If we've got an issue, I remember growing up, we would always have a family meeting and we would address the person, and that is tough. But
wow, that's very deep.
Yeah. Very deep. And I remember we would have a whole family meeting. Everyone would come and be like, right, Gemma, you've done this and we don't like the way you're doing it, or you're going down the wrong path, blah, blah, and the whole family will be there.
Oh my God.
It's that sounds like what an American would say, an intervention.
It's an intervention, exactly. And
mediation,
I know, and I've grown up with that. So for me, that's all okay, and I feel like I've got tougher skin. But I know that's not normal for many people, to the point that even when my husband came around for the first family dinner, now, family dinner in our house, again, is not normal for many. It's 15 people around the table. I remember when he came round and everyone in the family had a chance to say all of my faults, because there's let's say, and my family's wonderful, but then the whole idea was, let's tell you her negative side because you already know the positive, because we want your marriage to be successful. And that is and that's how it is. My family is very honest and very genuine, and so we are built on that. And they went round, and I remember it was only my brother, when it got to my brother at the end, he was like, actually, Gemma is a wonderful person. I know, because he felt sorry for me. But afterwards, my boyfriend back then said to me, he was like, after knowing all of that, I still want to marry you. And we were happy with that. Because
I thought you were going to say something else then. I don't think I'll bother.
But because of that, he's now used to my family, how we are. He knows where I'm coming from. And secondly, we kind of started on, let's be honest with each other. So I've kind of built that into my little unit, which I have now with him. And that for me is quite normal. But for a lot of people, that's overwhelming. It's heartbreaking. It's like, oh my gosh, seriously? But that's why my family is so united, because we've been sort of built on a lot of honesty. And that works for us, but it doesn't work. Because for me, I can't deal with conflict. Like if I've got an issue, I can't even sleep at night if I'm not talking properly with my mum or something like that. I've got to solve it.
Whereas for others, it may be that it's best swept under the carpet.
Exactly.
We're not going to talk.
And let's not confront it.
That's how my family is.
And that's how your family is. Let's not talk about it.
But one thing I have to say with Gemma, with your husband now, is that it was very important for him to see how it is in the family and how things are solved.
And
I think that's really...
And where I'm coming from. And I did the same with his family. Although his family is not like mine, we did the same. I went to his mum, I was like, can you tell me all of his negative sides? And they were kind of like, you are? I was like, that's what we do in my family. And they did the same. So you kind of, you carry those across the generations. I'm not saying that's right. It's right for our family. But like for you, you said it's not.
It's not, because... So can I say more about yours? I want to hear this about, we don't do the conflict bit.
But no, actually, no, we don't. But I think it's wrong, though, because, we try to hide, like, what we actually... Okay, say for someone's done something. we wouldn't say anything. We'll just overlook it. But I think sometimes it's very important to say what you're thinking and what you're feeling. But we don't do that.
Although some things are
we
not
just
worth
let
the
it
battle.
slip. We just let it go.
Some things are not worth the battle.
You have to pick and choose, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general with families, I think, I mean, I'm sure that you can identify if something's negative going on in the family, or a person is behaving quite peculiar or negative, you can spot it. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
You will spot that that's not quite the norm behaviour. Do you know what I mean? You can jump on it. So we know, I think that we know our families well enough to kind of identify whether something's not so normal.
Yes, like my brother, when he wears extra aftershave.
He's like, leave it, open a window.
You know, like some families have some, you know, all jokes aside, some very serious things, like there could be abuse in the family, and you kind of know if someone is a little bit isolated. So if there's isolation or if there's a lot of division, sometimes you put up with it, unfortunately, and you decide this is how it's always been. You know, because, for example, Christmas is a bad time for a lot of people because they just don't want to face their family members. But because they've put up with it and you kind of don't know how to fix the problem, it's easier almost to say, actually, this is just how my family are.
And I think this is kind of one of these situations where, I mean, we always say with the rise in social medias, but it's one of these ones where it's positive because people can see, actually, that behaviour is not normal. You can see different examples of how people resolve conflict, how people get together, and they're supposed to be able to enjoy each other's company and to be sat on opposite sides of the room and not be able to have a conversation. That's an issue. And that, like I was saying, I think at the top of the show about learning from the examples, the negative examples, it's good then that the next generation is able to learn the tools necessary to resolve conflict and change, evolve the family values so that that doesn't have to continue for generations as it has done in the past.
But Lisa, also, can I just say quickly, is that it's very important to know when something is not normal. Because I remember, I've got to mention this, when I was going through a lot of abuse, in my relationship, it wasn't picked up by any member of my family. And I was so good at hiding it, I think, that I thought they would know that I was going through such abuse, for, what I was going through. But no one picked that up. So I think it's very important for you to know your family, your children, anyone, whoever it is, it's very important for you to know if something is wrong. You've got to be able to know that, no, that person is not acting normal.
I love that. And to piggyback off the back of that, it's also good to, I think, communicate. If someone is not communicating, or if your family's not used to communicating, maybe you could try to put things in place to try to create that atmosphere. Because on the other side, your family might have said, but she never told us, like she never... Sometimes you can see something's not right, and it's quite difficult because especially when it's in a relationship, some parents don't feel like they want to meddle or get involved, or some family members see, oh, that doesn't look right, but that's her relationship. It just depends on the makeup of your family. But if you're the sort of person that's very private and you don't communicate, it can be difficult as well on the other side. Because I remember when you were talking about families, my family, I haven't had that whole united family in terms of two parents, children stay together. My father actually committed suicide when I was very young, and I grew up without a father. But I know that my mum, for instance, she was very close to us, especially us girls growing up, and communicated with us. She told us everything, like, oh, I'm thinking of having another baby with my new stepfather. She would tell the girls. She would tell us, like, what do you think of that? Oh, I've gotten pregnant with Jay. What do you think about that? Like, she's the sort of person that would constantly be communicating with us. So because we had that trust with her, we were okay with her decisions. So even when my stepdad came in and things like that, we've had so many different blends in our family, so many mixtures. It's like almost like the United Nations at the moment. We've got absolutely,
it's true.
Yeah, we've got everything. We've got African, we've got Turkish, we've got Jewish, we've got Indian. We've got everything, and we're just one blended unit that's just happened to come together after a lot of work.
I love your family.
There's so many people in there, but it's the communication that helped it.
Could go on all day.
It could,
but we haven't got the time. What the time is now for is your final thoughts on the subject, on family values and faith in the family. What would you like to say to our viewers?
I think the main thing that I want to say is really jumping on being a parent. I think there's no perfect parent, But I think in terms of parents, I think we have to really love our children for who they are. We have to treat them with this, what we know as equality. They're never going to be two children. Like you can say, all your sisters are going to be different. I'm sure you're different from your siblings. We're all different from each other. But I think that every child is unique. And every child has their own individuality, and you know they're going to have different temperaments. And I think it's important for us as parents to embrace that and work with it and love them for who they are. And we can help to build those. If you find that you have a child that may be more shy, you know, you can help to build that person to come out their shell and things like that as parents. So I think us as parents, we play a big role, and I think that we should really love that role and honour that role and really do our very, very best to love our children for who they are.
Thank you, Maria.
I mean, for me, it's always been very important. You know, I look at myself that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if someone is in a relationship, someone is married or they're single, but that person, they have, no matter what, they have to take care of their own needs. It doesn't matter how busy, it doesn't matter you're a parent, it doesn't matter if you're married or you're single, it doesn't matter. But everyone has their own needs, even if it's just to go to the gym, even if it's just to go somewhere. But it's an example as well. As a parent, you are showing your children what is normal and what is not. We can have such a busy life. I mean, London is such a busy, town to live in, but you also need to make time for yourself. There is always time, always.
Thank you. And Gemma, we don't have a lot of time.
I would just say that I've learned that love overcomes most things, if not everything. And in a family, there are so many different personalities. You have to learn how to accept people. Some people will never change. And if you are trying to change people constantly within your family, you will never have a happy family. Sometimes there's some annoying traits that people have. They may never change, so you just need to learn how to accept that. Even make a joke of it if you want to, but you have to love that person. Sometimes they don't make the decisions you want them to make, or you feel that is right for them. But if you love them and you stick with them, keep them close, then that will help you to have more of a united family.
Thank you, ladies. That has been a wonderful show and with some really great advice. And I think that the most important thing is to remember is that no one's family looks like another person's family. There is no one standard of a family. Everybody is different. So if you put into practice what the advice that has been given from the ladies that you've heard here, and even from our lovely guest Lucy, and you put them into effect in your family and make it work the best as it does for you, not comparing it to somebody else, then you cannot help but have an amazing time together. And always remember, though, that your family values can evolve. They're not stuck in stone. If it doesn't work for you, then change it. Your family needs to be happy and healthy, both mentally as well as physically and spiritually. So you really need to put your effort into maintaining that. So let us know your thoughts on the subject. You can tell us on Twitter, on Facebook, or by emailing us at comments@dkw.me or help@dkw.me. So join us next week for another fabulous episode, I'll get my teeth in, of DKW. And until then, goodbye.
This programme is brought to you by UCKG.